Greetings family, peace, love, and black power. This is Guru. Thanks for visiting my channel. Today's vlog is about Charles Barkley, who has something to say about race in America. You know, when I first saw this, my antennas went up so quickly because every time I see his face, I'm thinking, what does this mofo have to say now? He always is putting his foot in his mouth. So anyways, when I saw him, I immediately thought about Satan incarnate. That's what I think about when I think about Charles Barkley. But after reading the article on Charles Barkley, I kind of maybe had somewhat of a slight difference of opinion. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to share that with you right now, actually. So when he talks about racial issues, it isn't only whites he risks angering. Some of the most biggest complaints come from fellow blacks who figure he's too rich, too successful to possibly understand our struggles. Quote, like those people say he's not black anymore, he shouldn't speak on black issues, unquote, Barkley said. I'm like, dude, I'm always going to be black, but that's a double-edged sword I'm willing to deal with, unquote. So not only will he keep talking, he wants to lead the conversation. The Basketball Hall of Famer and TNT analyst will debut, quote, the race card on the network in 2017, a show that won't just be about black and white, because Barkley believes America's problems are more about rich versus poor. Well, he's talking about classism, family, and although that may be true, that classism has a lot to do with our present situations, because when we're talking about classism, we're talking about economics. Economics is a huge factor in this inequality system. So yes, I think it's an appropriate discussion, provided that it's done meaningfully. Anyways, I digress. Let me get back to this story. Basically, family, Barkley goes on to say, I just want to do a positive dialogue because I'm sick of arguing over race all the time, Barkley said. Like, I'm very aware that racism does exist. It always has and probably always will, but the media does a really poor job. There's more good than bad, but the bad pops off the newspaper and on television and social media these days. And like I said, the truth is somewhere in the middle, he says. On one hand, he seems an unlikely choice to be looking for it. In a Nike commercial during his playing career, he said himself he's no role model, and he still doesn't like the term now. And wearing a Ralph Lauren sweater and matching brown slacks during a lunch at a Manhattan restaurant Tuesday before slipping into a tuxedo for the induction of TNT's Inside the NBA studio show in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, he does project the image of a comfortable life. But born in Alabama in 1963, the year Ku Klux Klan members killed 4 black girls in a Birmingham church bombing, he sees the same struggles now as during his youth. Like many of today's athletes, he's discouraged by the killings of blacks by white police and the protests, sometimes violent, that have followed. Well, quarterback Colin Kaepernick of the San Francisco 49ers has been kneeling in protest during the national anthem, and many NBA players, and many others, by the way, have stood with arms locked during the preseason. Barkley respects their actions, but would like to see more. Quote, it goes back to the Kaepernick thing, he said. I said, you do what you want to do. You're a grown man, but I challenge all these guys. What are you actually doing in the black community to help our people? Well, Charles Barkley, I'd just like to say on behalf of Colin Kaepernick, he has put his money where his mouth is. He's done quite a bit. I'd say more than most in the black community. So before you stick your foot in your mouth regarding Colin Kaepernick, maybe instead of including his name in this sentence, or maybe you might want to take his name out and include other people, maybe. That it would have came off a lot better, because Colin Kaepernick is definitely a role model. in this day and age. And if you don't get that, you never will, Charles Barkley. Okay, so anyways, he says, for Barkley, that's included donating millions to his high school and colleges in Alabama, that he can't blame today's athletes who grapple with their involvement, a discussion he had with a professor for the show. He says, first of all, it's unfair for all you guys to have to solve the ills of all the black community. It's unfair you guys aren't activists because you all haven't lived with those guys. You all haven't lived what those guys have been through, Barkley said. And he says, I really think it's cool that you all are trying, but to try to compare today's black athletes to Jim Brown, Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali, and those guys, we're doing them a disservice because those guys have, lived. There are a few people who compared some of today's activists with people like Muhammad Ali and whatnot, and they were properly dealt with at that time. I think we properly addressed those issues. So I think Barkley needs to really be out there more and get more information, you know, and again, his show may be able to pull all this information out, hopefully, if they have the right discussions. But I think it kind of makes me feel like he's not aware of the things we're doing out here in social media to get the word out and to spread the truth. Things, and talk about the things that mainstream media, i.e. white media, don't discuss. So anyways, he says, they never told me I couldn't go to a restaurant or go to the same hotel, Barkley added. I ain't never been through anything like that. For the first episode of The Race Car, Barkley interviewed majorities, he should say, about the way they are portrayed on television. He spent a day with Muslims, finding something in common. Quote, we started talking about, like, every time I see a mass shooting, I'm saying to myself, please don't be black. And I said to them, every time you see a bomb, what are you thinking? And they're like, please don't be a Muslim, Barkley said. He spoke with 4 blacks who gave very different accounts of their treatment by police. He met with Asians, telling them his perceptions of them from TV was that they're really smart and outperforming Americans. Quote, we're not that smart and we don't know karate, they replied. He interviewed entertainer Ice Cube, lamenting the criticism they get from African Americans. And family, he says it's the stupidest thing he's ever heard. We're not supposed to be successful, and like, wait, we're not black because we're successful? ? Barkley said. First of all, they should be patting us on the back because we made it, instead of saying, well, they don't know what it's like to be black because they haven't been in the hood in so long. Well, family, I've heard that statement too. It's like crabs in a barrel, making statements like this against other black people. I try not to do that. I've spoken about it in some of my comment sections that I don't like when other black folks come to my channel and try to start and pick fights. Trolls who are doing this kind of shit, they might be paid informants, who knows? I don't give a shit. I just don't like it. I think it's horrible when black folks do that, going to other black people's channels and just doing that. If you're going to another black person's channel and you make a comment or two and leave it at that, then that's different. But just to go to somebody's channel and start shit with them and then you're trying to tear down the person and not the message, you're just fucking up. Anyways, but Barkley said he will handle it because it's important to keep talking about social issues. He warned his bosses at Turner never to prevent him from talking about what he wants. And while he once desired a chance to run an NBA team as a general manager, he realizes now that job would lessen his platform because it would require staying silent at times. Specifics about the show, including the debut date, are still being discussed, but Turner is eager to see which direction Barkley plans to take it. Charles Barkley will tell you himself There has been no bigger problem in his life than racism. That is why we're doing this series with him. He wants to spark real dialogue and get everyone involved, said Michael Bloom, TNT TBS Senior Vice President of Unscripted Series and Specials, a political independent who said he's always voted Democrat but once weighed a run for Alabama governor as a Republican. He's disappointed in the presidential campaign and pondering not voting at all. Family, before I go on from that statement, I'd like to say that I've heard quite a few black people, including our Dr. Umar Johnson and other respectable black people who have said the same thing, that they may not vote at all. All I can say to you in that is that if we do not vote, period, you know that you are voting indirectly for Donald Trump to go to the White House. And if he does make it into the White House, understand what comes with it. The racial undertones that come with his presidency that we would have to deal with for the next 4 years. So if you just want to give up your vote because you don't like Hillary Clinton, when these are the only choices we have, just know that when you don't vote at all, you are actually voting for Donald Trump. Even if you're not looking at it that way, that's how it is. And that's the truth. So with that said, I know you may not like Hillary Clinton because there's a lot of things that's been said about Hillary and some things that have been uncovered, unearthed by Hillary Clinton or about her. And we know some of the things that her husband, Bill Clinton, started, like NAFTA and what that has done to our country, okay, with others coming here and getting jobs that really should have gone to Americans already living here. So we know what NAFTA has done. We also know what Bill Clinton has done with the laws and how it created an environment where it incarcerated more African Americans in our history than any other time. This is something that the Clintons done. And then we also know about the Clinton Foundation and what they have done, or the lack thereof, when they were supposed to be helping the black people of Haiti. If you don't know about that, you can easily research it and find out. But with that said, even if you don't like the Clintons for that, I'd rather take the Clintons. With all knowing all that, I'd rather see them in the White House and be able to work with them to correct some of the ills that they've created. I'd rather work with them than to work with someone like a Donald Trump. I mean, he says, what do we have to lose? We have a lot to lose with a presidency of a Donald Trump. Okay, so anyways, going back to this article, a political independent who said he's always voted Democrat but once weighed a run for Alabama governor as Republican, he's disappointed in the presidential campaign and pondering not voting at all. He's also disgusted by TV coverage he said is often two panelists yelling at each other over the same soundbite. So he's hoping his show, can be the one that deals with difficult topics in a proper manner. Quote, what I'm trying to do with the show is all the racial BS is somewhere in the middle. It's not black and white. It's everything. Like everything is not all what it seems, Barkley said. I'm just trying to open up a positive dialogue. That's all I'm trying to do. So family, I just wanted to share this vlog with you, something I just found online. And again, when I first think about Charles Barkley, I'm thinking of Satan. But nonetheless, I'm interested in this show in 2017 called The Race Card. I'm really interested. I find it kind of odd that he would name it that, because that term was coined behind a white man. And it's something that really white culture created. The race card. It's what white culture created. So I find it ironic, and it is a nice spin that Charles Barkley would take it over and create a show behind something white people created, the race card. Family, I conclude this vlog. I hope you like it. If you do, please like, share, and if you haven't already, I humbly ask that you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your support. Until next time, peace, love, and Black Power. This is Guru, and I'm out.